Bill Barnwell, ESPN, came up with a all-trade mock draft, which that's a new one on me, and we follow these things. So he has the Browns getting the third pick, the 67th overall, and the 2022 first-round pick of the Houston Texans, and giving up the 26th overall pick and the 89th pick, which is a third-round pick. So a third-round pick earlier in the third round they get this year. They give up 26 in a later third round, but they get the 2022 first-round pick of the Houston Texans. Initially, I'm like, they're not trading the 22nd pick. And as I thought about it, that Texans pick could be awfully high in the draft. Just a thought on that one.
It's very intriguing. I hate the idea of waiting to make your first pick until that late on day two, but you throw out that idea of maybe getting a top 5, top 3 pick. And the Browns have had good luck trading with the Texans. They made that trade back in 2017 when the Texans took Deshaun Watson, and it wasn't going their way. Deshaun Watson ended up tearing his ACL. They ended up getting the number 4 pick in Denzel Ward. This one could end up pretty high up in next year's draft. And here's the other thing to remember. I bet if it does, let's say it ends up at 1 or 2, I would bet the Browns wouldn't make that pick. That they would take that 1 or 2 pick and turn it into even more draft capital down the road. So if Andrew Berry and Paul DePodesta's eyes get wide about this, it would be because they're looking at not just what they could get from the Texans, but then what they could flip it into moving forward and how much draft capital they could have, in future years.
And the other thing is this year there's a lot of concern because guys opted out of the season. You have guys that didn't play full seasons. There's just not the normal picture that you get of a draft prospect. And I think some teams are going to be more likely to trade out of this year's draft. I don't know that the Browns are going to be one of them, but I could see where teams definitely trade out of this draft.
Yeah, it's just hard to get a read on some of these guys. Even, we talked about the little mock draft that I put together earlier. Some of these guys, it was just so hard. We're talking about guys that haven't played since 2019 in some cases. There was no combine. You're going off pro day stuff, and it's really difficult. The other thing is, at 26, yes, you can get a very good player at 26, but the deeper you go in the draft, even still in the first round, it's always more of a roll of the dice. You just don't know how that's going to play out. I mean, the Browns took David Njoku a couple years ago, and that was a fine pick, but then a pick later, TJ Watt went, right? It's always just a roll of a dice as to how a guy's going to develop, how he's going to fit into your system. And the later you get, even if you're still in the first round, it just becomes harder and harder to identify the right guys.
Nice problem to have, though. Drafting late in the first round means your team played pretty well the year before. So, I think Browns fans could get used to this.